So I grew up not too far from here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I was born in Norfolk, grew up in Virginia Beach. And my dream was actually not to go to college here. I wanted to go to New York and go to Tisch. But Tisch was $30,000 a year at that time. So my parents were like, absolutely not. But I came here to William & Mary and I loved it. I fell in love with it. I actually wanted to major in theater, but I think the path of like integrating like one side of my brain with the other side of my brain, I think started at William & Mary, because like I was gonna major in theater, took some theater classes, and they weren't as fun to me as the government classes, believe it or not. I loved my government classes. And so I decided to major in government, minored in economics and psychology, but I performed at night, which is kind of something I've been doing for most of my career, is like doing one job during the day and something else at night. I did it! But while I was here, I did some theater. This is perfect. While I was here, I did some theater. I was in the improv group IT. And then, being a performer who didn't know what to do, I went to law school. I took the LSAT, and then I ended up going to W&L, which is in Lexington, Virginia. And if you have not heard of it, I hadn't heard of it either. So not embarrassed by that. To move it to the next slide, do I just do that? Okay, yes, that worked. Okay, I did it. And then while at the law school, again, like that thing of like integrating the two parts of me and like the balance. Like the first year I was at the law school, maybe the first 2 years, I was trying to just do the law thing. But then I got the itch again, so I ended up doing a play at the law school. Well, I did at the undergrad, and then I auditioned for theater companies while I was in law school, and got a job at the Shakespeare Festival in Florida. And then I got a job at the Shakespeare Theater in DC, moved to New York, and became an attorney I was at Merrill Lynch for a bit, and then I was an attorney at Allstate. So in terms of like the performance kind of stuff, here are some of like the highlights of what I've done, just to give you a sense of like the different things I've done. And then I've done like screenplays, stage plays, short films, stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and all of that stuff while I was practicing law. I was a litigator. And then acting stuff, different places that I've acted and the different kinds of things I've done, just to give you a sense of like my vibe here. And then I feel like I'm kind of an expert in the field of like doing a day job while performing. So like while acting, I've been like a Shakespeare teacher and done wardrobe, worked at a bookstore, paralegal, all that stuff, trial attorney. So to get back to the topic of like, how do you like pursue your passion when you're not getting any money for it? First of all, I don't like the word passion. It feels like something a little kid would say, but like essentially it's like the thing that you keep coming back to and the thing you're gonna do whether someone pays you for it or not. And I've gotten money here and there as a performer, but I mean, one of the great things about having a day job is like it doesn't necessarily have to pay you, and you can do the thing that you love to do. But like also I have to acknowledge that like the thing that you maybe are passionate about, you don't have to love it all the time. Like as a performer, I hate it a lot of the time. Like I have a show at 3:00 today, and if the building burns down and I don't have to perform it, I'll be like, thank God. Because like usually like if you're a creative person or you're passionate about something, like sometimes it like keeps you up at night and it makes you cry and you're like, I hate this, and like, don't look at me and all this stuff. So I feel like the word passion sometimes implies that it always makes you feel joyous and happy, and it doesn't have to, because for me, it doesn't always. So here are some people who are, just John Legend, singer, musician. If you want to be a fashion designer, a stand-up comic, a showrunner, this is who I want to be when I grow up, and movie director, William & Mary alum, Cord Jefferson. And here's the question. That's me. How do you pursue your passion if it's not going to pay you? So there's different ways. I think like generally, if you're independently wealthy, you don't have to get paid. It's fantastic. See how happy she is or they are? You can get a patron, which is basically somebody who has a lot of money and they think you're amazing and they're gonna fund your creativity. You can have a trust fund, which would be great. Again, that can fund you. You can have a romantic partner who has a trust fund or has a ton of money. I like little kids. Or you can get a day job. And that's what most of this is going to be talking about, like really like a good kind of day job to get and integrating it. That's my nephew and my boyfriend in Telluride. Okay, this is like one of the big thing for me. I'm going to talk about the day job, but I want to like take a moment to go into like classes or like cohorts or groups. So in my experience, like when I'm like trying to do both things, like have a day job and like pursue something creative or like what I'm passionate about, I am short on time. Like I can't waste a lot of time figuring stuff out. I'm a huge fan of like finding an expert and paying them to tell me what's going on, and then being around other people who are interested in the same thing. So if you, how many of y'all are current William & Mary students? Okay, fantastic. It's kind of like, I love taking classes. So for me, this is like so helpful. But like, so when I moved to New York, all right, let me back it up. So I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. Like I knew I wanted to perform. I had a law degree, but I hadn't taken the bar exam yet. So initially I was working as a paralegal at Merrill Lynch, and I decided I wanted to do stand-up comedy. So it was kind of perfect. I was like 9 to 5-ish day job. And then I wanted to do stand-up. So I took a class at a comedy club, and the teacher was a performing stand-up comic. And the thing that's great about a class is there are people in that class who also want to do the thing that you want to do. And they're doing it because they really want to. Like they're grown-ups who want to do it, which is essentially what you are. And it's accountability, because like every week the teacher's like, okay, here's what you got to do. You need to go to 3 or 4 open mics a week. And then I want you to come back and tell me about those open mics. And I was like, I didn't even know what open mics were. I'd never even been to one, but I'm like, great, let's do it. And I went to open mics in New York City. I found out where they were. I had friends in the class, or people I made friends in the class. We would go together, and then the teacher kind of did like a shorthand for me, because I didn't have time to figure it out. I wasn't from New York City, I was from here. So it saves you time, you make allies, and the accountability, and then you feel like you're in the game. Because I'm like, well, I am on stage, and I am performing, and I have to tell you, like, sometimes like magical things happen. So the first open mic that I went to was at this comedy club called, oh my gosh, I should know this. I think it's Comedy Cellar. Yeah, the Comedy Cellar in New York. And that was back when they did open mics. So I performed, and like what they do is like they would draw your name out of a hat. And if you got your name drawn out of the hat, then you actually got to perform during like a live like 8 o'clock show on Friday night. My name got drawn out of the hat. So my first week, thanks to this class because I just showed up to an open mic, I got to perform at the Comedy Cellar my first week doing stand-up comedy. So I have like a Comedy Cellar credit, but like I would not have had that if I'm like trying to bumble around figuring it out on my own. So I highly recommend, if you don't have a trust fund or a patron or whatever, and you're out in the world and you're trying to make it happen, to take a class. And because that teacher is going to know a lot of stuff, and then the fellow students will know a lot of stuff. And just to be clear, I am like obsessed with classes. I have taken playwriting classes, sketch writing classes, screenwriting classes, different kinds of stand-up classes, crowd work classes. I'm into classes. I think it's so helpful. And then you make friends. And then, like, for example, if you want to be a filmmaker, I mean, you guys are lucky because it sounds like such an amazing film department. But when I was here, I didn't have that. But like, because I was in the filmmaking class, other people in that class also wanted to make films. So sometimes if people are further along than you can tag along with them and like learn from their mistakes and successes and knowledge. But like, again, I wanted to expedite my stuff. And so being in classes helped me a lot. So big general question, like how did I balance like a really hardcore day job with a kind of a hardcore passion job? This is the more like esoteric kind of stuff, but very important. I was selective about who I told my passion thing to. So when I was in Florida and DC, I told the people that I had day jobs with that I was interested in performing because I had to. When I was in Florida working at the Orlando Shakespeare Festival, they knew that I was interested in acting because I was acting at their theater. So it wasn't a secret. And so they kind of gave me jobs to do at the theater. But when I was in DC, I was actually living with my college roommate who was also living in DC, right here, Allison. She let me live with her, I think for free. Okay, yeah, she's like saying, but so that's helpful too, if you can have someone hook you up. She was one of my patrons.
That's rent control.
I lived in Old Town Alexandria, and the Shakespeare Theater was in DC, and so, but I worked at a bookstore. But I had to tell them that I was an actor across the river or whatever, because sometimes I might not need to, because I was there's something called a swing. There's an understudy and a swing. An understudy may or may not perform, but a swing knows that they are going to be filling in on certain dates for certain actors. And that's what I was. I was a swing. But I was also an understudy. So I had to tell the bookstore, like, listen, these are dates that I'm performing, but I might also last minute have to not be at the bookstore. And so I had to tell them. But like when I was interviewing for law jobs in New York, I did not tell them that I was also interested in acting because they need to think I'm only thinking about them. So I didn't mention it at all, and I kept it a secret until after I had secured the job and was working there for a while. And then I just invited people to like screenings of things I was doing or like plays. But, I would say, don't tell everybody immediately. Obviously, use some discretion. And then I think the stealthiness is really important. And the stealthiness and the intuition go hand in hand. You kind of have to, there's like some sneaking around and like taking moments. So like as a litigator, for example, I think it's almost like being on a film set. But so as a litigator, it's like I'm in court basically every day. I'm either doing a deposition or I'm picking a jury or I'm arguing a motion or like trying a case. But there's a lot of downtime. And then ideas come to you. Like, I don't know if you have the experience, like you're in the shower and an idea will come to you and you're like, God, I wish I had a pen and a paper, but you obviously don't because you're in the shower. But like when I would be in court waiting for a judge to call me up so that I could argue a motion, I had a notepad and pen. So I'm like, I would just like write I'd write screenplays and while I'm in court and the margins and then it became, I'm not writing this in the margin, I'm just like whole pages of just scripts. Or like in a deposition, which is a little harder because you're all at the same table. But sometimes if a witness is taking a long time to answer a question or saying nonsense and you have an idea come to you and I'm like, or they say something dumb, you're like, that would be great for like a script or a joke. So I like just kind of make a note in the margins and I'm like, know exactly what I'm writing, or even just the like sneaking out for an audition. So I mean, I highly recommend the practice of law as an opportunity to have as your day job, because, you know, people don't always need to know where you are. You know, like I'll have, like, so in New York City, a calendar call will usually be at 9:30 a.m. and maybe 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. And then lawyers go to lunch. So they're not necessarily expected back into the office until maybe like 1 in the afternoon, 2 in the afternoon. This is, I mean, you know, you get a sense of it. And so, but if I'm like, I see that I'm assigned to court, I have a 9:30, I'm like, I could probably do like a noon audition and nobody would know, or 1 o'clock audition and nobody would know. But that's like, you kind of, the stealthiness and the intuition of like, can I get away with this? Can I like sneak off without anybody necessarily knowing? And I've definitely done that a lot over my career. Obviously, do your job or whatever, but like use the, you know, the timing, because like sometimes my case would get adjourned at 9:30. So I'm like, I've got several hours where I can like go do things and nobody needs to know that I'm doing them. And I show up at the office at 2 o'clock. I'm like, hey, everybody. Oh, the case got adjourned. You know, it took, you know, and they're like, oh. So kind of just like using the opportunities that present, like open space can present for you to engage in the thing that you're passionate about at your day job. And I will say this about intuition, because I'm really good at using my intuition and really good at getting like divine communication and like using it when it absolutely needs to happen. If you're somebody who feels like you don't have the relationship with your intuition and like divine communication that you would like to have, my suggestion would be to practice it with small things until you build up the muscle to practice it with larger things. Like, should I get an orange juice or an apple juice? Like, what does it feel like I should get? Should I turn left or right? And like, when you have experiences of using it on something small and it goes well, then you can use it on something bigger. But like, if you're a creative person, like you already are tapped in to being intuitive. And so that's a muscle that you already have, and it's helpful to build it. Okay, so what kind of a day job should you have? One that actually pays your bills. Like I have a lot of performer friends in New York City who have multiple day jobs. To me, it seems rather stressful. For me, one was good because it kind of cleared my head. But whatever you're doing, make sure it actually does pay your bills. That's the whole point. And then great if it gives you health insurance. Doesn't have to. If you're young, you can maybe get away with not having health insurance until you're 30, but it would be great if you had it. Supports your self-care and longevity. So I'm not somebody, I'm like, it took me a long time to care about self-care and like my body and health. I just was like, that's so stupid. But if I imagine if it's something, if your thing that you're passionate about is something you want to do for the rest of your life, then you're going to need to prolong your life. And so when I say supports your self-care and longevity, I mean like a lot of attorneys in New York, it'll be very like a lot of hours that you have to work, and self-care will go, like you're not going to be exercising, you're not going to be eating right, you're going to be eating nonsense. I would really look at that and like question, like, is this going to be something that I can do for a long time? Because I'll be like 47 in 2 weeks, and I need to keep this. I need to keep myself like. When I turned 40, I was like, well, this body is bodying, you know? So, and I need to be able to do what I want to do for a long time. So it's like I had to start eating better and exercising and drinking water It's a nightmare, but it's important. And you want a job that's not going to interfere with what you're trying to do. And when I say this, I mean, like, it doesn't mean, like, it may be the kind of thing where your day job is one that you only do that day job for 3 months, and then you're able to take several months off to focus on the thing you're creative about. Or like what I was doing, which is like, I'm doing my day job during the day, and then I have the space to do it in the evenings and the weekend, like some sort of balance of that. So, and you'll find out if it's happening, if like a year goes by and you haven't done anything creative, like you'll realize it, like this isn't working, something else needs to shift. And then this last thing about honoring your energy and your vibe, it might sound woo-woo, but like, it's really important to get a sense of who you are, and so that your job honors that. I'll go into more specifics with that in a bit. And then supports and feeds your passion. There are ways that your day job can do that, and I'll go into more specifics of that in a moment. But this is the big thing with the other one. Beware of a mindless job. So I've had mindless day jobs. Before I took the bar, I was a temp, so I would like make photocopies. It was awful. If you are a William & Mary student, you probably have like an active brain and an active imagination. And some people would say, if you're going to be creative, you don't want anything that's too hard on taxing on your mind. I push back on that because like when I was temping and just making photocopies, it was awful. The day took forever. There was nothing interesting going on. There was nothing exciting going on. And I felt tired at the end of the day. Whereas as a litigator, like running up and down the courthouse steps and arguing with people and give me this, and it was so fun and exciting, and I was meeting all these different cast of characters. And so, you know, some of you would think, one might think that having to have a day job is a hindrance, but it can actually give you so much fuel for the thing that you're excited about. So I'm the kind of person that needs a day job that is like gets me moving and running and connecting with a lot of people, and that gives me energy. But like there are other kind of people who need a different kind of experience. So I would, like I'm saying, beware of a mindless job, and honestly, like getting to know yourself and honoring who you are. So these are the kind of questions you can ask yourself about, like, do I need to be alone kind of for a large part of the day in order to support myself creatively? Do I need to be talking to people? Do I need to be like working from home? Like, what am I like? And there's 2 ways to kind of get this. So there's trial and error, which I've had a ton of, because I've had a lot of different kinds of day jobs. And so I know, like, okay, this is what I like. And then like human design. Has anyone heard of human design? Oh, okay, cool. So it's gonna sound woo-woo. And trust me when I tell you, I wouldn't be telling you about it if I didn't think it was helpful. But it's some kind of version of like astrology and like different kind of woo-woo kind of things. But here's the website. The thing that's great about it is like you go on this website, it's free. You put in like, you know, your birthday, where you were born and stuff like that. And it honestly gives you a lot of information about like what your energy type can be. And again, it's like, if you are in the position where you're juggling the thing you love and then like a job that's paying you, time is of the essence. So like, for example, like I found out about human design kind of late. I wish I knew about it sooner. But like even down to, it gives me information, like this will give you information about like how do you best digest food. And if you don't think how you digest food affects your creativity, I'm here to tell you it does. So like the common wisdom, for example, is that like the best way to eat is to like sit quietly at a table and don't be on your phone, and like don't be watching TV, and like mindfully, slowly digest your food and chew it and however many bites. But that's not the best way for me. Like when I'm like, oh, I need to be like walking around, like I can be eating in the car, music playing, like I need to be like stimulated. I need to be around people when I'm eating. The reason why this is relevant, it's like, I've done shows before where I'm like, even in court, where I'm like have like a massive stomach ache because I'm like, I didn't eat properly or I didn't eat the right way. And like, I don't have time for that. Like I have a lot going on. So I need my body to be working appropriately so that I can like run from like, okay, I'm trying this case and then I have a show at 8. I need my body to be working, and you need to like know yourself. And you can find out about yourself, like I said, through trial and error, or like doing something like putting this information in the human design. It also like gives information about how opportunities are going to come to you. So for example, the way opportunities come to me is not direct. It's through my friends, which I found out from that. So I'm like, okay, great. So I'm going to stop trying to like make things directly happen on my own and just like continue to develop the relationships that I have with the people in my life that I really love. And that's how opportunities are going to come to me. So it gives you kind of all this like wild information that you might not expect that again can like shortcut you to things. Okay, this is me again, eating potato chips. So in terms of like what can actually support or feed your passion. Oh yeah, this is great. So like in stand-up comedy, for example, I've been doing stand-up comedy a long time, probably like 20 years, 19 or 20 years. And so I've seen different like waves of it, mostly in New York City. So people are kind of always talking about the same stuff. But if you have a day job, like it can kind of give you a lot more information about, you can talk about things that maybe people aren't talking about. Like I was at a comedy show a month ago and the comedian was a nanny. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. And so she had jokes about being a nanny. I was at a show where some guy was a psychiatrist and he had jokes about being a psychiatrist. I was like, this is great. Like, I don't want to hear everyone's talking about their boyfriend or their girlfriend, which is great. It's okay to have those things and to talk about those things. But like, if you can have a day job that is a little bit unexpected, then there's stuff that you can talk about that other people are not talking about. Or like, if you're going to be like a filmmaker and you like, it can actually give you fuel for the things that might make you more compelling than the average person. And then also like, you're going to be like, most people have jobs. So like you've heard those Hollywood celebrities who like, they're talking about life and you're like, that's not my life. Like I don't fly on jets or planes, like private planes, or like have a chef or whatever. They're like completely detached from what actual people are dealing with. But if you have a day job, then like you're hanging out with your audience and you have a sense of who they are and what they're dealing with. And so you can speak to that in your creativity in a way that other people would not be able to. And I've talked about this already, like giving you ideas and experiences. So a lot of my comedy has a lot to do with like the fact that I'm a lawyer. And again, it makes it like unique because not a lot of lawyers are comedians and vice versa. I did not want to go to law school, but I did enjoy it, but I didn't want to do it. And, but it's like it was a niche market. And so I created a lot of comedy shows in New York around the law. And and like even today, like a lot of my jokes are around like the nuances of that, and it helped my career. Another way that it supports you is like giving you the space to do the thing that you love. Oh, and then giving you literal stuff. Okay, so here's the thing. So, again, this is along the line of being like stealthy and kind of sneaky. But one of the short films that I made, we needed a location to shoot it in. We needed offices. And as you can imagine, in New York City, getting a location for a couple of days is rather expensive, especially for a film shoot, which is going to be like 12 hours each day, if not more. But I had literally done hundreds of thousands of depositions, and our firm had developed a relationship. Like, our firm largely used one of these deposition offices, and I had become, I was there almost every day or like a few times a week. So I needed a location. So I went up to the guy who owned that floor, like owned the company. And I was like, hey, I need to shoot a movie. Can I shoot my movie here over the weekend? And he was like, sure. Just lock up when you're done, and just keep me in mind for like, kind of keep using us. And I'm like, I didn't own the firm. I'm not in charge of it, but I'm like, sure, I will keep using you. And I shot an entire movie over that weekend for free in his office. He just gave me the code for the door. Or like, I'll do podcasts, and I've like snuck people in. They don't know if they're clients or what. So I'm like, recorded podcasts in our offices. Obviously using the printer and the, all of the equipment and things like that. But it's very helpful, and it expedites things to kind of use that, use what you have there. So here's like literal stuff that I've used, like I said, props. And then people can, inspire you at your day job. Okay, so here's the other thing. Here's a counterpoint. That having a day job is a bad idea, and it'll take the energy that you're supposed to be using for your creativity for that job. And to which I would say, that is possible. Like, you need to know who you are. Like I said, if you have a day job and you find that you haven't done anything that you're passionate about or creative about for like a year, then you need to reassess. So I think for some people, that is absolutely true. Like, some people need to be hungry and desperate in order to create their art, or in order to make it happen. That was not me. Like, I had some practicalities that I had to deal with, which is that I needed food and shelter. And so for me, it wasn't, I kind of felt like I didn't have a choice. I needed to have a day job. But for some people, maybe some people are going to make it like very early in their career, and like within the first few years, which is fantastic. You'll know if that's you, but you'll also know if it's not. So I think this is a valid concern, and you can try it out. Again, trial and error. Overall, I would say make allies, and I would say like the top tips, like make allies, but like make allies at your day job, and then allies also amongst like people that you meet in your community of like comedians and whatever your thing is that you're into. I would also say play the long game. I say that as somebody, like I said, who's almost 47. And I've been doing it for a long time, and it's still not where I want to be, but like, you can't get rid of me because I'm so healthy now. I'm never gonna die. So just kind of like playing the long game, and then being willing to try and fail. Because I bring that up because as like William and Mary students or alums, or we're not really used to failing things or doing things badly. I remember the first time I did stand-up comedy, and again, this is the open mic at Comedy Cellar. After I performed my set, and then they found out that I was going to be performing like Friday night at an 8:00 show. All these comedians came up to me. They were like, okay, here's what you need to do for Friday. Because basically that was their way of saying what you just did was not okay. And we need to get you in shape for Friday. And I was like, okay. And they're like, okay, here's what you need to modify about this joke and like da-da-da-da-da. And I could have in that moment got caught up in like, oh no, I did it wrong. Like, why are they all swarming me right now and adjusting and giving me notes? But it's like, yeah, no, I guess I did it wrong or didn't do it the way as best as it could. And I now have a show in 2 nights and they're helping me. So like the failure and quite frankly, the humiliation is like a big part of it. Because I would imagine that if the thing that you're passionate about is probably usually something that's in the creative field, and people are gonna experience it in some way, and they may have thoughts and feelings about it. And I would just say like take the risk and be willing to do it absolutely, completely wrong, or you're not gonna get to do it at all. Especially like if your thing is like comedy, people might not laugh, or it's so hard not to talk about the law, but like there's just so much humiliation anytime you're in front of a group of people and they are assessing or like viewing or experiencing the thing that you have created. It's so important to be willing to fail because that's part of the process.